Hey, what's going on, everybody? It is HBCU game day. What are we sitting on right now? Is it a Wednesday? I do believe we are in hump day. And let me tell you, there are some people out there in the comments on social media that are really trying to get over the hump. But is it really a hump in Tallahassee right now? We have two coaching circuits, coaching vacancies, two high-profile coaching vacancies in the SWAC right now. It is FAMU. It is Texas Southern. One of them is red hot. The other, I'm just going to say it's ice cold because we're going on 2 months and there has been no action on naming a head coach in Houston. But first, let's start in Tallahassee. Let's bring in the man who has been on top of the story from the very beginning, since Willie Simmons, when it was just a rumor that he was on the way out, from the time he left to now, when FAMU is working diligently to find a head coach to replace Willie Simmons. We're just, 10 days? Vaughn Wilson joining the conversation now. Vaughn, is it 10 days? 10 days Willie Simmons has been gone?
Yeah, Tolly, it seems like forever because it's just been a never-ending story, a never-ending stream of calls, texts, it's direct messages, emails. People are wondering what the heck is going on. I think that's one of the biggest frustrations of all right now. To lose a coach that just hoisted the Celebration Bowl trophy without any warning, something FAMU's been trying to get since they started the Celebration Bowl. To shortly after the Celebration Bowl, right after Christmas, realized that we had actually lost that coach. Then to be asked to raise funds, right after our holiday season, my wife and I, we traveled to Miami for the Christmas holidays to her family. So, with traveling to the Celebration Bowl and then a week after that, traveling down south and then coming back and being hit with a request, but we did what they asked. They asked each person to give $100. We each gave our $100. Since then, we haven't heard anything. I have not heard anything. My wife has not heard anything. Somebody said there may have been a post out there. I haven't heard anything. It was the 11th hour. You asked me for the money. I gave it, but I've heard nothing from nobody. So that's where my frustration in every post that I've said lies. We can debate. There are people hired for jobs. So we on the outside are allowed to debate who we would like to have at that job. What should not happen is feeling of disrespect that you asked me for the money and we did that, but you haven't communicated with me at all. That's where a lot of frustration is in the FAMU circles.
All right, Vaughn, so the FAMU National Alumni Association was very transparent during the fundraising process. Let's talk about the things that we factually know right now. There's going to be a meeting tonight with the FAMU National Alumni Association. It's a webinar. Miles, I think we got that on bullet point 1, where people can join, listen in. It's going to be a conversation about the coaching hiring process, if you will. Vaughn, what can you tell us tangibly through your connections is the temperature in the room, the thoughts, and maybe the purpose of this meeting tonight at 8 o'clock Eastern with the National Alumni Association there at FAMU?
Well, I can tell you yesterday I talked to some people on the campus of Fort Valley State, and they confirmed that Shan Gibbs is preparing to head to Tallahassee. He's been offered, and they say from all indications he's taking it. He's informing coaches to let them know who he's going to bring. So, like I said, we haven't heard anything official anywhere, but, from sources and from a very reliable source on the campus of Fort Valley State, Shan Gibbs has indeed agreed to become the next head football coach at Florida A&M.
And what is that reception been like? I kind of feel like I know the answer. What has the feeling been like? And part of that question, and we're going to bring in Stephen J. Gaither in a few minutes to join this conversation. What were your expectations? What do you think people could reasonably expect during this process? Did you want to hear names? Did you want to have input on a pool of candidates, or did you trust the process, if you will, of the AD coming up with the name and doing it quickly.
I've got 20 years of trusting the process, and it trusting the process has gotten me burned so many times, as well as FAMU alumni. We've just been burned over and over again, and having no say so. So you can imagine people are on edge. The overwhelming majority of FAMU alums wanted to run it back. They wanted to make another run with the system that was in place, what they had been asked to invest in over the last 5, 6 years. They wanted to run it back. The players expressed that they wanted to run it back. It was obviously athletic director Tiffany Dawn Sykes and FAMU president, because she can't operate without him. It's their desire to move in a different direction. We have not heard why, but obviously they have, decided to move in a different direction than the Willie Simmons tree. I guess at some point we'll hear an explanation. And until then, everything else is speculation. Everything else besides that is speculation.
All right, so let's set the tone here. Vaughn Wilson is not one to come on air and just throw out things that he does not source. Vaughn and I have conversations all the time. He hears a lot. Everything he hears, he does not say. So just for the sake of people that don't know Tan Rather like I do, you have reliable sourcing that says that Shan Gibbs has been offered the job. He's currently the head coach at Fort Valley State University. We do have a file on him. We can bring up his resume as well. Miles, that's on bullet point 2 there. Coached at North Carolina A&T, got his start there. He was a running back in college. Spent some time at North Carolina Central as a running back coach. Nice little run there at Grambling. Back to A&T for a decade. So you would think running is his philosophy, or at least he has a lot of strengths in that area, and has recently taken over as the head coach at Fort Valley State University. That's the dibs on Shan Gibbs. Vaughn, when was the last time, and I don't have a dog in the fight, I like Coach Gibbs. If indeed he's going to be the next FAMU coach, I hope he has FAMU in the conversation, because we need the big dogs to be big dogs. It is good for business. What is the ratio? How many former FAMU players have gone on to be coaches at FAMU? Is it? I know the last few years, Willie Simmons felt like he played at FAMU, although he didn't, because they wanted him there under Billy Joe. Things didn't work out. But how often has that been in the history of the university, Vaughn?
It's only happened about twice. You got Earl Holmes, and then you got Ken Riley. And then, at the start of Rattler football, back in the Bragg days, you have them. But Pete Griffin was the head coach. So 3 times: Pete Griffin, Earl Holmes, and Ken Riley.
All right, Vaughn, you understand how things work, and there can be mutual interest. See Texas Southern. That does not mean that a thing is going to become a thing. Let's walk people through this process. The AD has a recommendation. She has a name that she puts out there. She runs that up the poll through the president, or whichever order. The president might have been really high on the hire. I don't know how that works. It differs between different relationships, different institutions, based on the power structure there. We know the president's opinion definitely counts, no matter what school you're at. What level does the Board of Trustees, you explained the Sunshine Law there in Florida, what are the next steps that would happen in this hiring process if we are at a candidate with Shan Gibbs?
There's no way at this point that FAMU President Dr. Larry Robinson is not aware and on board with this pick. It couldn't get this far just with the athletic director making a recommendation. There has to be some acceptance, already on this point. So that's kind of understood, because the Board of Trustees meeting, which is coming up, this is going to have to be presented to them. And I think will be the first time that FAMU fans, alumni, and everyone else will hear the whole story. And So, it's just like I said, it's a very uneasy time because, you know, FAMU was right there hoisting the trophy less than a month ago. Now, no other SWAC team could take the Rattlers down, but they took themselves down at this point. And, just coaches are very good sources say these coaches are now headed out. The coaches that are on the Rattler staff, the big fish of that, in my opinion, is Coach Ryan Smith, the defensive coordinator, who had the #1 defense in the country for a good part of the season, ended up #2 in the country, as well as Cozy. They are entertaining offers, and it looks like they'll be on their way. So even if this coach doesn't work out, even if Coach Gibbs doesn't work out, there's no chance to go back, because I know Billy Rowe's contention was he wanted to keep the things in place and make another run at it with everything that had been built up over the last 5 years. That's what the alumni wanted. And they're very passionate, and that's why they're so active on social media now. That's why they keep calling my phone and texting me and inboxing. But I don't work at the university. I'm just a member of the media who covers them. I can't elaborate on any decision they're going to make. They're and people have to decide. I can say this: with the way that alumni feel, it's going to be tough to go to them to ask for anything else right now at this point, because it just felt like it was a one-way street. You came and asked, and then you haven't said anything. That's kind of bad, and everybody's feeling outside of the process. So if there was a normal situation where a coaching search was going on and the coach was just, and the athletic director was just going to find a coach and go, it wouldn't be this much anxiety if an urgent call hadn't gotten everybody on alert and put this right in the front of everybody's cranium. It's right there. It's a sense of urgency put there by the request. So this is why tensions are high, but they seem to be unified in the fact that they feel left out of the process.
All right, he's been waiting in the bullpen. Let's give a big round of applause. Let's bring him in. He's Stephen J. Gaither. Let's see if he can bring. Oh, look at Steve. Just came in with the sullen face. I expected your game face, Steve. Come, let's try that again. Bringing him to the conversation is Stephen J. Gaither. Look, we know Vaughn is just over there. Like, oh man, Vaughn's having a day. Steve, lift Vaughn's spirits. Lift Vaughn's spirits. Tell him why this is not the end of the world. Coach Gibbs can come in there if he is the candidate, if it goes through. Can he work some magic there? What do you think about the name that's being floated out there, Steve? Steve, again. Unmute yourself, Steve. Unmute yourself.
I haven't got my miracle working powers yet. Clearly,
there you go.
Going through the airways. So I don't think there's anything I can do for anybody in Tallahassee right now. But when you talk about Shan Gibbs, obviously he's most recently been the head coach at Fort Valley State University. Led those guys to 16 wins in 2 years, for a win in the Florida Bowl earlier this year. But beyond that, he has been a long-time assistant coach, North Carolina Central, where they won a Black College National Championship. Over at Grambling State, where they won a Black College National Championship, and then also over at North Carolina A&T, where they won several Black College National Championships. So he's been a longtime assistant head coach. He's actually the man that's credited for really bringing Tariq Cohen to North Carolina A&T, giving a lot of headaches to FAMU and a lot of other teams in the MEAC over that time. So, he is fairly new as a head coach, but again, he has a winning record. And, I don't think it's any secret, he and A.D. Sykes, they have known each other for a long time. They have, a relationship just like her and, so many of the other coaches. And I think that's one of the things that this search has really highlighted is that the tension between this fan base and this AD And when it comes to, not going the way that they wanted her to go. For sure. FAMU is a fan base that's very proud. Obviously, have very high expectations, but they also do have a very high turnover rate at the athletic department. As we've seen over the years. So again, as we said, we joked before, if they don't like what you got going on, they will quickly let you know. And they've not been shy about letting their voices heard about Coach Gibbs, who has been in some battles with FAMU in the past, some heated battles, but is also very widely respected in the HBCU world and beyond.
Steve, do you think there's any valid argument there that Vaughn presented with the lack of communication? Is that a requirement, or is the AD allowed and should be allowed to just go about their business and let you know when they have something that they want to let you know?
Well, I think anytime you're involved in a hiring process, obviously there are a lot of things that come into play. For Coach Gibbs, I know Vaughn says that, Vaughn's sources are telling him that he's going to be in Tallahassee, but I know I talked earlier in the week with some folks over at Fort Valley State, and they've also got a recruiting class as well. And we've seen how these things go. Case in point, Coach McNair over at at Texas Southern. He left Alcorn State thinking the job at Texas Southern was all sewn up, and we see he's still in the crosshairs because, as we said, there are so many levels to a higher situation, and he might, for all of this talk, he might still end up back at Fort Valley State and still have to be recruiting players. So, there's so many things that go on to it. Obviously, the investment was made by the Florida A&M contingency, the alumni. They went on here. And they were transparent, as you say. They made sure that they said that this was going to the coach's pool, not directly for Willie Simmons, but it was going into a coach's pool. So obviously, a lot of those coaches are leaving. I mean, it's that time of the year where people are putting their staffs together. They just had the AFCA coaches convention. And so things move quickly. And, I think, this search kind of shows why, it's so unique in HBCU culture because you have a fan base that is just like, super on it, super involved, and kind of FBS-ish in their own way. But usually in the FBS, these type of things are probably put to bed quite quicker because we see all the conjecture, all the back and forth, and we've seen people, people are threatening jobs. People are saying, don't come here, don't come here, Coach Gibbs, because Sykes won't be here when you get here. And so it's just a really interesting, intense time, and I think this is a powder keg that we would only get from Florida A&M, in terms of HBCU.
Maybe not only.
I mean,
we just had
Grambling and Southern. We just had Grambling and Southern searches, right? And both those are high-profile, blue blood HBCUs, passionate fans. But, they brag different around there, so it's a little bit different. The stakes are a little bit higher.
I think emotions were shown just inversely. They ate their own with the coaches that they had, so it was inverse emotion. Vaughn, I hate to see my brother Vaughn just so down. All right, Vaughn, is it the communication? Is it the communication that bothered you, or is it the candidate, or is it both?
It's everything about it. I don't like anything about it. I don't feel we got the full story with Willie Simmons. With them being adamant to go outside of that coaching staff, there's something that they don't like about the Willie Simmons coaching tree, and we haven't been told what that is.
Well, it can't be the wins. They had to like the wins, right?
Huh?
It can't be the wins. There was plenty of wins.
There's something that is not sitting right with them about the Willie Simmons coaching tree. Because anybody with any sense of athletics know you stay with that tree and you shake it until, there's no more berries coming off of it, or no more apples falling. And to just totally abandon that entire coaching tree says something that we don't know. Now, a big problem is, season tickets are going to go on sale soon, and these same people that felt left out of the process are now saying, you know what? She has come. She's moved our tailgate spots. They've raised the ticket prices for the investing in champions. And now the ultimate disrespect is to do this and not give us any information. I can't speak for other people. I can tell you what I did for my company, who has helped the Rattler Boosters and the 220 Quarterback Club, every Wednesday to stream their meetings. Um, that was a huge donation by my company to that process. I informed them I won't be doing that anymore. I just cannot continue to dedicate. I can't dedicate my resources from my business and my time when I don't feel it. I mean, I have every right to do that. Everybody does. It's.
But Vaughn, we got to stay winning though, man. Like the culture has to continue winning. This is what I tell people, Vaughn. It's mission work. In this space, brother, it is mission work. Everybody, doesn't always want to hear your message. Everybody doesn't want to be saved. There's a lot of things that go on that you wish just would happen the way you wished that they would happen. But you got to soldier on, man.
I sat in those same lockers that those kids who are confused, and trust me, many of them finding a way out. I sat in those same lockers. A lot of those kids look up to me. And it's almost like knowing that I'm an old school player, they're like, did we make you proud? So you grow an attachment to those kids, even though you try not to, and cover them, you have an attachment. And more than anything, it's not about Vaughn Wilson at all. I had my time to play. That's done. Those records are done. They are where they are, and they'll remain there forever. But if a kid decided he wanted to come play for Florida A&M University, our orange and green, and sit in our lockers, and they're sitting there just frustrated with everybody in the Rattler Nation because they don't know who to blame. It feels like we, as the should be keepers of the code, have let them down, and that's how I feel. If you see it on my face, I feel like I've let these kids down. That's how I feel, because they didn't want a new coach at all. Their first preference was Willie Simmons to be the coach. But let me tell you, with them not wanting any part of the Willie Simmons tree, I wonder, did they actually in earnest negotiate with him? I don't know. But I would think not. If they immediately wanted to go outside, I think they did not want Willie Simmons to return. And that's my opinion.
Or is it Willie Simmons didn't want to come back to FAMU? Like, he was done. He's ready to become a Power 5 coach. That's what he told you, Vaughn.
Willie Simmons is an upstanding guy who does not like to rock the boat. I believe it somewhat, but I think it was fueled by something else. It has to be. Nobody's that dumb. You don't get Willie Simmons or any of his coaches. That means you did not like Willie Simmons or his tree. You wanted to go outside. If the players and the alumni all said, go inside, stay inside, make another run, and the president, athletic director decide, we're not doing that, there is some discourse that we know nothing about. Trust me.
All right, we got about 5 minutes left with Vaughn. Vaughn has a business. He's got to go make some money. Vaughn does a whole lot of things. Vaughn, I'm not making fun of your emotions, but I do like to acknowledge people in the chat. They said you are fish grease hot right now. I think that is pretty accurate. I don't often see Vaughn upset.
It's not one of them where I can curse, so I'm just trying to keep it in. I'm trying to keep it in the middle of the road.
Steve, real quick, it is pretty common for people in position, hiring positions, to bring in the people that they have relationships with. If this would be the case here, it's not. It's more normal than abnormal.
Yeah, I know, over the last couple of weeks, and I've heard, as we talked about the Celebration Bowl, and I know Vaughn eloquently really put into perspective how Willie Simmons got there, right? A.D. Easton, who's no longer there, knew from playing against him in Clemson that he wanted that guy, that there was something about Willie Simmons that he saw, that he felt he could lead Florida A&M to the next level, even though they were coming off, some really lean years. And he kind of went through and did his process his own way, differently, and he's been applauded for it. I think that A.D. Sykes deserves the same opportunity, and if not, I don't know why that wouldn't be an opportunity, for her to have her own process, which again, it's not just a one-person decision. Again, as Vaughn said, the president's going to have to sign off on it. The board of trustees is going to have to sign off on it. But I feel like, once you start going down that slope of having ADs, I mean, every AD has their own process and they're hired to do a job. I think as Vaughn said a couple of weeks ago, ultimately, AD Sykes will be judged by this hire, which I think, she's going to have to live with, and everyone else is going to have to live with if it ends up being Shan Gibbs or otherwise. But I think, I think the opportunity to allow itself to play out, obviously people have emotions, there are ties. When you talk about the players, you get tired of players, and I understand that completely, the same thing. But, at the end of the day, players and coaches come and go. But your school, Florida A&M, Winston-Salem State University, that's forever. And so there's, a lot of emotions, and you want to have people emotionally invested. But I just have to believe that whatever happens at the end of this, the folks at FAMU, those who bleed orange and green, they will come back to FAMU. And hopefully for them, this hire works out. Everything I know about Coach Gibbs, you don't hear upstanding guy. All of his players, his former players, will go to bat for him. They have gone to bat for him in these social media streets where, from the moment it was mentioned that he was a candidate, he's been getting the same type of heat. So it's going to be really interesting to see how many people, if this goes through, how many people stick with it and how many people decide that, they're going to put up their flags. That's kind of hard to do.
All right, Vaughn, let me ask you. Go ahead.
Holly, I got to address something that was in the chat. He said, I don't support FAMU, I support the coach. Anybody that knows anything about me knows that's bull. You look at a list of anything given, whether it's the School of Business or anything, I'm on the list. I'll continue to support those things. I just won't support athletics as I've done in the past. That's all I'm saying. I'll support my School of Business and Industry more. I'll support J School more. I'm not going to withdraw my support from FAMU. It's just I'll redirect it. So don't get it twisted about me.
Let me ask you this, Vaughn. If the press conference, some teams win the press conference with the hire and go on to a terrible season. Some people don't win the press conference and they actually do pretty good. At what point would be the finish line for you to make a fair assessment, final judgment on whoever gets this job and will be hired by AD Sykes, approved by the Board of Trustees, et cetera, et cetera?
I think for me, it'll probably be when the truth comes out about why no one from Simmons Tree was hired. I mean, that's the obvious elephant in the room right now. In 2003, I keep saying this, FAMU stopped itself in 2003 from being great again. It sabotaged Billy Joe. Billy Joe had a team ready to roll. Guess what? Somehow Willie Simmons always pops up in the equation when this happens because he had transferred to FAMU, was working out the team. Coach Joe expected him to be the head coach. And the Board of Trustees forced the president, Dr. Gainus at the time, to apply for FAMU to go Division 1A at the time, which is FBS division. FAMU was in no way ready, and it embarrassed itself over the next 2 years, and it built a debt that some of that debt is still outstanding to this day, I promise you.
It was a time. It was a time for sure. Vaughn, you got like 1 minute left. We have not talked about this name, Quinn Gray. If I would have told you, last week, hey, Vaughn, there's going to be a name that emerges. He's currently a coach in the SIAC. Who would you have said?
The coach that beat the coach that they're allegedly hiring.
Vaughn brought ammo today.
I'm just saying straight up. Quinn Gray and Albany State beat Fort Valley this year. So I would have obviously said, it must be talking about Quinn Gray.
All right, the conversation is going to continue. Vaughn Wilson, we will let you go. Do you want to leave us with a final word? I know you're on a tight schedule. We're sitting at 12:30 right now in real time.
No, I just know that just the pulse of the Rattler Nation is uneasy. We are fans. At the end of the day, yeah, we get emotional. I mean, it's almost like people don't want us to get emotional. We love our school. We love winning. We love being at the Celebration Bowl hosting that trophy. We love beating Bethune-Cookman. Right now, we seeing Coach Raymond Woody loading up down there in Daytona Beach. So first and foremost, there are a lot of things to be concerned about. Listen, y'all think I look stoic today? You should have seen me after every one of those games where we lost 9 years in a row to Bethune-Cookman and several other Rattlers. Coach Coach Woody loading up down there right now, and we still figuring ours out right now. So that becomes something else that is, building in your mind.
All right, he's Vaughn Wilson. Vaughn, appreciate it, brother. You've been on this story. You've reported on it. You bared your soul on it today. We appreciate the perspective. And again, is that webinar tonight? Anyone can join in?
Yes, I think I've been invited to speak on the webinar tonight, which would be interesting. I have no idea what to expect.
Fire.
But hey, somebody say we don't want to lose the Cookman. Listen, to tell me that, I don't need to look in the comments to know that that's what's on the minds of a lot of people. Losing ground to your arch rival, you finally got a handle on that, and nobody wants to lose that. And certainly, just like I said, being on that stage with John Grant in the Celebration Bowl after all those years of trying to get there, actually hoisting that trophy, and for everything to change before the engraving actually set in good on the trophy. I mean, it changed. It's just interesting time here in Tallahassee. I just got to say it. On December 2nd, FAMU and FSU both won conference championships. Boy, look at what has happened between then and now to both schools.
Well, speaking of days, thank you, Vaughn. We'll let you go, brother. It has been 51 days, according to the math that I have done, since Texas Southern University has had a head coach. 51 days. Fred McNair was offered the job reportedly. He seemed to be in line. It seemed to be a shoo-in. And since then, it's been anything but a shoo-in. We will continue this conversation. We have a special guest joining us. As soon as I get some confirmation that we got him in there, I'm going to let you know who it is. I think it'll be a first-time appearance here on HBCU Game Day, a trusted voice that we have out there in the HBCU sports landscape. Steve, I'll let you put a button on your thoughts on the FAMU coaching search. The latest news is that Shan Gibbs' name has emerged, as Vaughn says he has sources at Fort Valley State that he has been offered the position. Nothing official in terms of contracts and accepting and a press conference coming. We're not that far down the road. But Steve, your thoughts on how this story has developed this week?
Yeah, well, obviously, big time deal. Even if FAMU wasn't the defending, well, the reigning Celebration Bowl winner, the reigning SWAC champions, it would be a similar fervor here. Again, they have one of those rabid fan bases, where you talk about, then it's probably them and Jackson State, and then probably, in football behind that's probably Grambling and Southern right there, where, football is the end all be all, and so there is a lot of passion. There's a lot of energy there. There are a lot of whispers. There's a lot of talk, and I think a lot of it, unfortunately, not on our end, because I know we source everything. A lot of it has come from, just kind of offhanded remarks, hearsay. And so, obviously what we do here at HBCU Game Day is try to go straight to some sources that are very close there. And so I did just find out that Coach Gibbs is, at this point, he's expected to be in Fort Valley this weekend recruiting. So he's going to be recruiting. You hear so many rumors, and in this day and age where everybody can, plug up a camera and go, it's not hard to get things going.
I've heard those answers before, though, Steve. It's like, you ain't lying, but that ain't really saying a lot. Hey, I'll be in Fort Valley recruiting. Okay,
right.
School?
Yeah, so
through the years,
exactly.
I've gotten those answers before.
Exactly. So, we hear more than we ever had before, and so we'll have to filter more than we ever had before. Again, I just think that A.D. Sykes and President Robinson, again, they are the ones that are in front here. They have, been in front of this from the beginning, and it's going to be on.
Well, I tell you what, FAMU fans, come closer. They can't take that away from you. I don't care how you're feeling today, whether you're happy, you're indifferent, you're sad. No one's going to take that championship away from you, and you can celebrate that championship with a commemorative FAMU championship belt. They have been going. Great sales the last couple of weeks. We really appreciate you guys. We wanted to just bring you something kind of special and unique. Look, you can get these fabulous T-shirts and shorts. We're not trying to compete in that lane. We want to bring you something just really unique, and sales have been really good, but it is a limited supply. So make sure you go to the HBCU Game Day Shopify store. We'll get it in the comments. We'll make sure you have access to it, but the HBCU Game Day Shopify store will take you right there. Great, great, great. Will look great in your FAMU room. All right, we're on live here. Talk to me. Do we have our special guest? Yeah. All right, if our special guest can hear us, turn your video on. That's the note I'm getting from Miles. Just turn your camera on there. All right, so Steve, let's talk a little bit about Texas Southern, and we will expand that conversation. Show them the ice, Miles. Show them the ice. I mean, Steve, if FAMU is on fire right now, I would say Texas Southern has gone ice cold. We've heard names. We've heard about meetings, lots of meetings, but we have seen no action. Can you go this long, Steve, 51 days, closing in on 2 months, without having a head coach in place for a Division I football program?
Well, you certainly can't do it at FAMU. It would be riots in Tallahassee.
5 days, maybe.
Right. You know, I told you last week that Jodeci, it's been an hour since you've been gone. But over at Texas Southern, different place, different culture. You know, Dr. Granger and his team have been working, you know, on this hire since, you know, depending on the reporting back in November. So, you know, they thought they had their guy, and they've gotten to the table so many times. Our guy Kyle, I hate to do this to him, but on Twitter, he'll tweet that there's a meeting about Texas Southern, and then I'll just have to tweet that there's a meeting in Silk's bedroom, and it's probably more eventful than what's going on over there at Texas Southern. So it's kind of become a running joke, honestly, at this point, which is sad because, you know, it's a SWAC institution and an important one too. So.
You did put a poll up, Steve. We got about 121 votes so far. You're asking in that poll here in our chat, is Shan Gibbs the right choice for FAMU? Right now, the fans are saying no, but it's you know, early in the voting. You got 121 votes in there. I think it might be a rowdy rattler crowd in the chat. So I would not call this a scientific poll, but it is a poll that you can have fun with. Steve, with the amount of time, how much of a setback do you think this could be for Texas Southern? That you know, the players, I would imagine, are in crazy limbo of not having any idea of what's happening. This is a program that didn't have far to fall because they historically have not been a top competitor in the league. So when you look at that risk versus reward, where do you fall on that with Texas Southern now, you know, 50 plus days, and yet to make a decision and really seeing a lack of direction, at least on the outside looking in, you can't tell which way this thing is going.
Yeah. And I think it's, you know, again, a similar situation. Again, you talk about the short length over at FAMU, and you think about all the rumors and the innuendos and the hearsays that have gone on over there. Well, Texas Southern, I mean, you know, we've gone from this being McNair's job to, you know, McNair versus Andre Johnson to Ed Reed rearing his head to, you know, Brett Maxey, former NFL safety, and now, you know, we've even heard Hines Ward as a potential candidate. You know, I think Kyle is on, so I think we'll be able to get him soon and really flesh it out. But it's almost to the point where you're at apathy. When you talk about cold, it's apathy. When you talk about a program that's been a chronic underachiever in that state, in the SWAC, it's almost to the point of apathy. And again, where you don't want to get to a point where it's a joke. If you're a player, I'm guessing, you know, if you have any other options, you're probably making them available to yourself, and otherwise you're just kind of wait to see how the dust clears. But you're probably definitely confused, just like the rest of us.
All right, you saw the hot names on the screen. We got a hot name coming into the chat now. He is Kyle T. Mosley. You know him from HBCU Legends. You can follow him on social media. He's been at the forefront of reporting here on this Texas Southern job, the vacancy, the lack thereof. Kyle's way down. Come on, we didn't give Kyle some headroom. Kyle's way down at the bottom of the screen. We'll take him full screen there. Kyle, welcome to the show, man. Kyle T. Mosley, tell us, what are you hearing, if anything, the latest there, man, on Texas Southern? What is happening?
Well, first of all, thank you guys for having me on, Stephen, as well as you, Tolly. Look, guys, it's a fluid situation in Texas. It's as much fluid as you would say you would need to have at this point of the juncture. But the Board of Regents is meeting on Friday morning, 8 a.m. They're expected to be able to receive the recommendation from Dr. Kevin Granger, who's the VP of Athletics, as well as Dr. Sias, who is the interim president. And we believe that that's going to be Fred McNair still. Okay. They went through their battery of interviews and they had a chance to be able to meet with Brett Maxey, as well as a couple other people as well. I don't know about Hines Ward, haven't been able to confirm that he actually had an interview, but it looks like after going through the whole cycle once more, being able to do an evaluation and analysis of the candidates, Fred McNair is the top candidate of Texas Southern University.
All right, Kyle, we want people to see all of you, man. We want to see them deltoids and biceps and everything. I want you to kill a little bit of your headroom if you can, Kyle, while we continue this conversation. If you can't.
You guys are cutting me off. All right. Can you see me now?
we don't want you to look like the little man on the screen down in the corner. There you go, Kyle.
Okay,
There you go. All right, appreciate it. Look, this is live, man. Sometimes you just got to make adjustments on the fly. It's all good.
Definitely.
Kyle, this will speak to the perseverance of Fred McNair if he holds on, because I tell you, if I was him, man, I would be thinking to myself, I'm not feeling the love here.
It makes you wonder, right? Look, Coach McNair has been real quiet, though, if you notice. So he's been patient through the whole process. But also Dr. Granger, I believe it was last week I had a chance to see him at the basketball game. Dr. Granger was pretty confident that the board and he were on the same page. They were going to be able to push this measure through as far as who they were going to approve for the contract. And that's what the Board of Regents is pretty much doing. They have to approve the contract that's being recommended by the president. So if they approve the contract, it seems as though we should have an announcement after that Coach McNair will be the hire. Now, that's what sources are saying now, but this is Texas Southern. That could be all fluid because the board can also decide not to approve the contract, and then we're back to square one again.
I mean, I feel like Brian McKnight here. Start back at one.
Back to one, man. And look, I think the situation has been because some of the board members, they're not athletic, they're fiduciary, right? So their responsibility is about the finances of the whole institution. Not understanding the athletic side and not understanding that they're behind the eight ball when it comes to recruiting efforts, being able to assemble a staff, getting people in place to be able to have a successful run. I think that was a lot of the concern, a lot of the angst of the people here in Texas, as well as the alumni. But I think Dr. Granger has put a pretty good list of people together. He has put that recommendation forward. And right now, it's up to the board to be able to approve or not.
Does Texas Southern, is it one of the, Kyle, I feel like some schools, the board is just there to, kind of stamp what comes through unless it's crazy. In other places, we've seen the board has a lot of power and they wield it. I kind of get that vibe that Texas Southern is definitely not a rubber stamp process when it comes to the Board of Regents.
Well, they do have the approval of, a couple of years ago, they had a provost in mind. They didn't want the provost. That provost never saw the light of day on Texas Southern's campus. So yeah, the board has a lot of power. This board is an appointee of Greg Abbott, who is the governor of the state. So there's a lot of diversity in the board. It's not very heavy Texas Southern oriented, but there's a couple of people who have Texas Southern ties on the board. But right now, I would say this, Tolly. I think they're at a point they understand where the football team is. They understand what Dr. Granger and his search committee was trying to do as far as push the best candidate forward. And I think everybody will be on the same board on Friday.
All right, so you, again, if people are just tuning in, Kyle T. Mosley with HBCU Legends does a great job with his reporting. For some reason, he likes the Saints. I don't know why Kyle does that, but we want.
Hey man, born and raised. I'm born and raised in New Orleans, man. I report on the Saints, the Pelicans as well. But hey, Charlie, we can't always be from the East Coast and those dirty birds and all those.
Don't talk about it, man. Don't talk about
Come on, man.
It's
they can't even stop a 1-yard plunge. Come on.
We don't even know who the general manager is, what he does, the whole nine. We got a board of regents over here for the Falcons. But Kyle, again, going back, you were saying, in case people missed it, you still think Fred McNair is going to get the job.
That's what my sources are telling me. Now, again, this is a fluid situation. We have a board that can change their minds tomorrow. They can have people who choose not to vote and they don't have a quorum, right? And if that's the case, they can, as I was told, keep kicking the can down the road.
At some point, there's going to be a football season. I mean, there has been recruiting. There's the secondary National Signing Day, which is coming up, which is the one that the FCS schools really need to jump in on. Let's bring Stephen J. Gaither, if he's still hanging out with us here. Steve, you're hearing the news that Kyle is sharing with us, his sourcing telling him that don't give up on Coach McNair. Fred, don't call him Fred Cabbagehead. Fred is still in there, man. What do you take of that information?
Well, just before I was born, there was a man by the name of Jesse Jackson who had a phrase, "Keep hope alive." And I guess at this point, that's all we got. So they're just going to send a message in a bottle to the Board of Regents, and hopefully somebody will answer. I don't know, but it's at the Division I level at HBCUs, it's it used to be a little bit slow, but it seems like they have been generally catching up to where now these things are done in a much quicker way and process. And then you get to Texas Southern, who they just got their own thing going, and I know it's got to be frustrating for the folks that are there. I think it's just it's really interesting. I think it speaks to the faith that the Texas Southern faithful have in Dr. Granger, because he's he's sticking with his process. It seems like this is his candidate, and the blowback that he's facing is not too bad, I would say. But I think that, again, that comes with the metered expectations. But I think they really want to do football seriously, and I think this was their grand opportunity. And not saying that it can't happen, but they are definitely behind the 8 ball, if I can use a Houston term.
Kyle, 8 ball and MJG. Kyle,
shout out to Dr. Kanisha.
What disadvantage do you think Fred McNair or whoever becomes the coach, these 51 days, what disadvantage does that put them at? And specifically to Coach McNair, is he the type of guy from your observation point, who is a do more with less type coach and maybe can overcome some of this lost time?
Yeah, well, he's a veteran, right? He understands the whole process. He's been through SWAC recruiting. Matter of fact, look at Aaron Allen. He's a Houston, Texas product, right? You look at some of the talent that he's brought on board at Alcorn. They're from Texas. And so he understands how to recruit. He probably has stayed in contact with some of the kids that would be interested in following him to Texas Southern if that's the case. And also, I believe that Fred McNair, since he's a veteran, understands the SWAC, he's a winner and he wants to continue to win. The thing is, at Texas Southern, what they have been having the problem over the years with Coach Clarence McKinney is not that they didn't have the talent, is how do they get over to the next side? They've been at 3 wins, stuck on 4 wins or whatever. How can they get over the hump? Hopefully, Fred McNair is the guy that's going to take them over the hump. And I think based upon what Dr. Granger's wish list was, he fits all the criteria. He's a veteran coach. He knows the SWAC. He's HBCU. He's been in a winning program. He went to the Celebration Bowl. What more can you have?
All right, the Houston market, one that Texas Southern would love to keep some of those kids at home. Being the brother of Steve McNair, not something that Coach Fred McNair ever, talks about and brags about. Of course, he's proud of his brother, obviously. But the name that Steve McNair has in Houston, being a draft pick of the Oilers, it's been a while. 18-year-old kids aren't always up on their history, but maybe the parents, still remember. Is that, a little bit of a factor? Is that something that can be a bit of a bump there in Houston and Texas?
Minimal. I believe, like you said, that's a long time ago for some of these guys. If you look at Steve McNair highlights, you're not going to see the Oilers uniform. You're going to see the Titans uniform, right? But I think right now, some of the parents, they just wanted to have somebody to come in to help them win, to bring some excitement to the Houston area. Now, Fred McNair is not Deion Sanders. He's not Chennis Berry, someone who's going to be very vocal and rah, rah, rah. He's going to be just who he is. And you had a lot of that with Coach McKinney. But also, Coach McKinney was able to find some great talent with Andrew Body, Hamilton, who's the cornerback. You look at Ladarius Owens, he recruited him as well. So there's still talent on this team, and there's still some good assistant coaches on this team as well. I'm not sure how that transition is going to take place for some of these guys, but I think with Fred McNair coming in, he can still have some stability, but he can also bring some more structure, and he has a winning mentality that they really need to have here at Texas Southern University.
All right, he's Kyle T. Mosley with HBCU Legends. You can follow him on social media. Just look up HBCU Legends. Kyle, the Andre Johnson conversation, did that have real legs? Does it still have some toes? What's going on there?
No more toes. No more toes. It's all turkey legs. You go to the turkey leg hut if you want to talk about Andre Johnson. Now, that was one of the situations where some of the board members, they know Andre because he's a Houston legend. He's a great person. He's been around the Houston area for such a long time. So some of the board members wanted to be able to have that conversation with Andre. Unfortunately, from what I was told, Andre just didn't fit the criteria. He's never been a head coach before. He's never been in coaching. And they just felt that may be a liability.
It kind of gave me the Eddie George vibes, though. A guy who regionally is super hyper popular. That they have the football knowledge, and you just massage it on along. I would say it's been successful. You can make that argument so far for Eddie George.
Robinson. Yeah, look what Eddie Robinson was able to do with Alabama State as well, right? It had some legs, but I think all in all, if you have to put Eddie Robinson and put Andre Johnson as well as Fred McNair together, you still have to say Fred McNair is the head coach.
All right. He has a presence for sure. When Fred McNair walks in the room, he might not say a lot, but, man, that beard, that barrel chest, that grizzled look that he gives you, really nice guy, but, he kind of has that presence where you kind of give him some respect, like, oh, there's something about that guy there.
Put some respect on Fred's name, guys.
Do you think this would, if he turns out to be the head coach there at Texas Southern, do you think this puts a little more fire in his belly, a chip on his shoulder, or is he just take it in stride and say, it's just another day at the office here?
Well, it's going to be quite a transition from having time spending with his cattle and doing all the things out there in Mississippi and coming to the fourth largest city in the United States, Houston, Texas. He's going to spend time in Third Ward. So there's going to be some cultural differences there. But I think all in all, Coach McNair, he's going to fit in pretty well with the Houston, Texas vibe.
The gumbo, will the gumbo be the same? Like, what's going to be in that pot? Is it going to match up to what he's used to coming out of Mississippi?
Well, look, man, we got some Louisiana people here. We got some Louisiana blood that's going to put that gumbo out there, and he's got to be able to taste the gumbo. Like I said, they got the Turk Leg Hut right in Third Ward, not too far from the campus. He's going to have a great time. Eating is all you want to have here in Houston.
All right, we got to give a shout out to Dr. Kanisha Hall, always supporting us. A very important and busy woman, but always supporting us. She gets the comment of the day. Kyle, Steve, she says, there were absolutely no legs, Lieutenant Dan. So giving a little a little Forrest Gump there. Let's give her a laugh for that.
Lieutenant Dan. Lieutenant Dan. Yeah, well, look, guys, I appreciate you having me on.
Yes, sir.
I feel like Barack Obama when he finally got to Morehouse. I'm glad I finally got to HBCU game day.
Well, Kyle, we appreciate it. Make sure you follow him, HBCU Legends. Great reporting, great man, great journalist in the space. Kyle, we appreciate your time.
All right, love you guys. Take care, man.
All right, see you there. That was Kyle politely saying, all right, I got to go. I ain't hanging around with you guys. It's 1 o'clock. Stories is on. No, he's not watching the stories. Steve, last word here. We'll give it to you as we close in on an hour here. We don't want to keep people all day long. What would this do? What do you think your reaction would you forecast on Fred McNair? Kyle has sourcing that says he is still the man for the job. How do you think he would come out of the gates after going through this extended stay in purgatory, waiting to get this job?
Yeah, I think just from again just interviews and observations and everything that I know about him. I mean, I think he's just gonna obviously this has had to be frustrating for him. Kyle was talking about a wish list, and it's if you're a kid and you're talking about your wish list on January 10th, you didn't get what you wanted to for Christmas. But I think for Coach McNair, he's gonna go ahead, hit the ground running, business-like, and really just use that to fuel for his fire. And so I don't expect any less than that. I was going to ask before Kyle got off, I'll ask you, who would you rather be coming into this potential situation? Would you rather be Coach McNair, who's been waiting, since 2023? Or would you rather be Coach Gibbs, who, folks are pretty vocal. They are not feeling it.
I would say this, and I didn't get a chance to bring this up with Vaughn, but I'm old, Steve. Like I'll be 50 this year, so I've seen a lot, professionally and throughout my career. Each situation is unique, but I know I've been in positions. I was at a radio station once, and our program director left. He got a new job, and there was this guy. Like we really, really wanted him to take over and be our boss because he was our friend, he was our buddy. He was really, really talented. And we thought, man, if he just takes over, man, we're going to elevate. We're going to not only stay where we are, we're going to elevate. And, man, he got in that position and he changed. He became a corporate dude, man. He would come back and be like, oh, sorry, guys, we can't do that. The bosses said. I was like, hold up, bro. We supported you. We got behind you because you were going to take care of us. And he got in there and he protected his own skin. And I will never forget that. It's like, the people that you think the feel-good hire, and that's not always the case. I'm not saying that's a blanket rule, but sometimes, man, it can be really disappointing the way that it turns out. I've also been in positions where I've gotten a job, and I wasn't the favorite, and people didn't necessarily want me to have it, but I got in there however I got in there, and that, for me personally, just fueled me. I would rather be the underdog. I would rather have everybody rooting against me than everybody patting me on the back saying, all right, he's our guy. Here you go. There, we're behind Tolly. Like, that's more pressure to me because you got to live up. It's easier for me to shut people up than live up to that chummy, you're going to take care of us thing. So each situation is unique, but that is why I asked Vaughn Wilson, Tan Rather, what is the finish line for you? where will you ultimately judge this? Look, you watch the NFL. A bunch of coaches got fired this week. I'm here in Atlanta. When they hired Arthur Smith, it was a winning press conference. Oh, he's a genius. Everybody was happy. Oh, until they started playing. Right. It just, it's great if you can win the press conference and win the games, but the most important thing is to win the games. But if you lose the press conference and you lose the games, the person that did the hiring might end up losing too. So I would say this at FAMU, this is the hire of a lifetime for Tiffany Dawn Sykes. It is going to either bolster or potentially set back her career. I don't think it's going to be just another hire. I think people will look at this whoever it turns out to be and however the results lie, like, oh man, she really knocked it out of the park, or I don't know why she did that. Like, I think those are the stakes that they were dealing with. And she's aware of what she signed up for. You don't roll up to FAMU thinking it's going to be, Sisters of the Poor and people are just going to be happy with whatever you did. So, those are the stakes. And, I would hope that you are excited by that. That's why we do the things that we do, and we do the things that we are passionate for. But with all that said, I'm still most interested in Fred McNair. He's just my guy. I really like Coach McNair. I don't know Coach Gibbs. I don't have anything against him at all. I will be very interested to see how it turns out. I know our Wally Pitt has spent a lot of time with him, kind of covering him behind the scenes, and really seems to enjoy his company and the access that he has. And, they really seem to hit it off. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. But as long as FAMU's in the conversation about something, we're all winning.
Yeah, I agree. I think I think when it comes to Coach Gibbs, I know from on good authority that you talk about the reason he's got the job opportunity is because Willie Simmons decided that he wants to be a Power 5 coach. That's what Willie Simmons told us, and that's what we have to roll with. But I know that Coach Gibbs, a North Carolina Central grad, he's coached at a lot of HBCUs. I know that HBCUs are his goal. That is his goal. So I think if he is the hire, I think that once folks get past their feelings, and of course everybody's going to have them if they're invested, they're going to see somebody who has a lot of passion, who has really looking, who I think they'll find more in common with them than they don't have them. And I'll be interested to see going forward. I think this is going to be a barometer for athletic directors at HBCUs, how much the level of scrutiny they get. Every place isn't FAMU, but I think we've seen some opportunities in the last couple of years where athletic directors have made some bad hires, and it hasn't killed their careers in basketball and football in the SWAC. You guys can, pick those out. So it's going to be very interesting that, this is kind of make a break for her.
Oh, there are ADs in the SWAC right now that have hired and fired the trio of people.
And stuck every foot and toe in their mouth at the same time.
And they are still there. So it all depends. So look, but this is part of the process, right, Steve? Like when you want a big spotlight on your product, this is what comes with it. Fan scrutiny, daily conversations in the media. It's part of the process. It's part of the excitement. It's a part of being relevant. So I would hope that all stakeholders embrace it, the good, the bad, the ugly, indifferent. If we want to grow, if we want to continue to push the product forward, we can do all of this respectfully, and still, you can have respectful scrutiny. It is part of being the big boys, right? That's just how it goes.
All right. We're talking about you.
When they stop talking about you, then be concerned. When they don't care what you do, then you have a problem. All right. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. I'm going to leave here. I'm going to the post office. I have more belts to ship out. People have been buying these FAMU belts. They really love them. Don't let your love be deterred today. We still have some in stock. Make sure you go to the HBCU Game Day Shopify store and you get yours. It is one hell of a belt. For Vaughn Wilson, for Kyle T. Mosley, for Stephen J. Gaither, and our guy, Big Miles in the back, who makes it all happen. I'm Tolly Carr in Atlanta. We'll see you guys a little later. Thank you so much for hanging out with us here at HBCU Game Day. Enjoy your Wednesday.